This shit I'm telling you, it'll all blow over.
Didn't you admit to Dr. Cusimano that you were feeling depressed?
Melfi. What part of the boot you from, hon?
Dr. Melfi.
Sad news this morning. James Gandolfini has died. Most famous as the lead character in HBO's hit show The Sopranos, Mr. Gandolfini had been vacationing in Italy. No cause of death has been announced. Perhaps his best legacy, the golden age of TV storytelling he helped usher in. TV Guide's editor-in-chief, TVGuide.com's editor-in-chief, Mickey O'Connor, joins me to discuss. Mickey, good morning.
Good morning.
So, you know, a lot of people are going to be talking about James Gandolfini and the circumstances surrounding his death,
Sure.
Which we don't know yet.
Right.
But we wanted to talk about a whole bunch of shows that were influenced by The Sopranos. Which ones in particular?
I mean, I think in general, if you look at The Sopranos, it's about the history of cable television and original programming on cable television. You know, this was a show that was about a really violent man who went to therapy. He had a complicated relationship with his wife and children, and you know, owing to James Gandolfini's amazing performance, he was someone you sort of rooted for, nevertheless.
And what was amazing was this gigantic story arc. By the way,
Yep.
I should note, I misspoke a minute ago. The
Yep.
AP is reporting that cardiac arrest was the cause of death. But what I was saying, what made The Sopranos kind of unique and has created this golden age of TV is that arc.
Yeah.
Network TV, it has a beginning, middle, and end, doesn't
Right.
it? Every show.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if you look at shows like Lost and Desperate Housewives and things that came after The Sopranos, where serialized storylines were the norm, I think that all of that came from cable. You know, if you look at things like Mad Men and Breaking Bad on AMC, those are shows that
The Wire on HBO.
The Wire on HBO. Those are all shows that I think, because of the success of The Sopranos, it was found to be a feasible financial model for a television show. And when it comes down to it, that's what it's about, is money.
I mean, it's a good point. Strategically, these shows have been incredibly important for cable television.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, premium cable television is all about getting subscribers. And so I think that if you have a show that people want to watch, then, you know, people will sign up. And, you know, The Sopranos single-handedly reinvented HBO's original programming business because it was such a draw on its own.
I think you mentioned to our producer that Jersey Shore is another show that traces its lineage back to The Sopranos?
From the sublime to the ridiculous, I suppose. I mean, I think that, you know, there was sort of, you know, for better or worse, an examination of sort of Jersey culture as kind of a thing. And, you know, that started with The Sopranos, and I think that went through, you know, the reality juggernaut and came out as Jersey Shore, as The Real Housewives of New Jersey, you know, those kinds of shows.
The networks, I understand, passed on The Sopranos.
This is true, yeah. You know, I think that there was a moment where they thought that they could do it in a safe for network TV way.
I was going to say, we all benefit from that, right? Because
right. But you know, I think that, you know, that's another reason why, you know, when you look at the Emmys, for example, The Sopranos was the first cable show to win an Emmy for best dramatic series, and you know, a lot of people looked and said, well, you know, they can swear, they can show nudity, they can do all these things that we can't do on network television, and of course, yes, that's true, but you know, I think that if it were just that, then I think that something else would have won the Emmy first. There was obviously a lot more to The Sopranos than just that.
Any particular, besides Tony Soprano, any other favorite roles that you remember him for?
You know, I actually, this is going to be a surprise, but he actually did a voiceover that I particularly liked in the movie Where the Wild Things Are. He was one of the Wild Things, the character named Carol, and you know, it was really strange when you first recognized that voice. Who was that voice? And you know, of course, you had a deep, gravelly baritone. Yeah. And then, you know, when you realize that's James Gandolfini, it was just an interesting take on this guy who you knew, you know.
He did like to experiment with different kinds of roles. My favorite always be a different kind of mobster was the Mexican.
Oh, sure. Yeah. He played a gay hitman, which, you know, at the time, I think that that's sort of a big spoiler when you watch the movie, but I think that, you know, I think that that's, you know, I think that that was something that he wanted to try to push in a different direction, because obviously a lot of the roles that he got were violent. They were, you know, hitmen. They were people against the law. You know,
that'd be a great one for people to check out if they're looking for a nice James Gandolfini.
Great scenes with Julia Roberts. Yeah.
Great ones. Yeah. Thank you, Mickey, so much for coming in today.
You're welcome. Thanks.